Hello again. This week, I kind of had a hard time deciding what to look into or to research a little bit more. I ended up coming to the section about evaluation, so the different types of practice evaluation. And I was like, yeah, I might as well talk about that. There were three subcategories in there, and I think that was one of the main reasons why I chose it. Those three categories are progress evaluation, outcome assessment, and program evaluation. So I decided to look a little bit into that, and to start off with the news article. Again, it's another one about COVID. Surprise. Happened in 2020. But the main idea of this news source was that there were quite a few changes that happened during the COVID, and mainly for students, the way that teachers were teaching and how the students were being taught changed a lot. And so this news article talked about how it was important for these researchers to look into how these things have changed, how the students are learning over this course during COVID. And so they did this study where they wanted to see the changes and the comparisons from the past to what is now, and maybe looking into the future. The whole idea was that parents, educators, administrators, and policymakers need more information about how students are doing and being served, not less. And so the data that they needed was to capture multiple aspects of student well-being, including social, emotional needs, engagement, and conditions for learning, so that families, educators, and local state leaders could be responsive to the needs of all students. And then they also noted that it was just important for a need for comparable data to look across schools and student groups to better understand the overall academic performance of children. So they used the process of evaluation, practice evaluation, where they would interview and look into what these students were learning through progress evaluation, and later through an outcome assessment and the program evaluation by the new methods that these teachers were using to teach these students. Basically, they wanted to see how the students were receiving the information compared to in the past, and how they could improve the system so that they could not be worse than they were before, but find ways to be better. So they used 4 steps, and the first step was to collect and report data on school models in which students are enrolled. The second was to provide guidance on streamlining academic assessment systems. The third was collecting data across dimensions related to learning. And then the fourth was modifying policy and guidance to administer the annual state assessment in 2020 to 2021. So they used 3 types: the progress evaluation, outcome assessment, and program evaluation. The main idea was they were trying to see how they could improve test scores during the COVID era. And so they used these models to assess how the students were doing, how the teachers could improve, how they could implement different ways of teaching to better help the students understand the things that were being taught. So in the end, it's still going. So they're still trying to find ways to improve, but hopefully through this evaluation and the outcome assessment, they'll be able to determine what is best for the students, what is best for the teachers. Moving on to the journal article, scholarly journal article. It was titled "A Nationwide Survey of State-Mandated Evaluation Practices for Domestic Violence Agencies." And this was kind of a comparison study between agencies throughout the U.S., what they did for evaluation for domestic violence So they kind of did this study and where they looked at what they did to evaluate these people who went through or were affected by domestic violence. And they came to, well, not the conclusion, but they saw that many agencies serving survivors of domestic violence were required to evaluate their services, which is good. The three possible evaluation strategies included the process measurement, which typically involved a frequent count of agency activities, such as the number of counseling hours given. B was outcome evaluation, which measured the impact of agency activities on clients, such as increased understanding of the dynamics of abuse. And then C, performance measurement, which assessed the extent to which agencies achieve their stated goals. And so they tested for these three things, going along with the theme of practice evaluation and the three subtopics: progress evaluation, outcome assessment, and program evaluation. They basically implemented these three things to find what was differing between different agencies across the United States. And they found through a survey that funders of domestic violence agencies in the United States revealed that most states, 67% of the states, require only a process measurement, while fewer than 10% require performance measurement. And most, which was, I think, 68% of the funders reported satisfaction with their evaluation strategy and emphasized the need for involvement of the stakeholders, so everybody that was involved, especially the people that were funding it and who developed the evaluation. So they kind of did this study to compare these and see where agencies were faulting the evaluation process for people that have gone through domestic violence. So they, as you can see, it's important to evaluate because in the evaluation stage, you get to set goals, you get to see the outcomes, and you get to really dig into why things happened and if the program worked or not and why it didn't work. So it focuses a lot on the why instead of the what. And that way they can see preventative measures and implement them in the future. The Code of Ethics section, there's a section about evaluation and research, which is section 5.02. The two main topics, it's sections A and B. It says social workers should monitor and evaluate policies, the implementation of programs and practice interventions, and social workers should promote and facilitate evaluation and research to contribute to the development of knowledge. So this whole idea of the practice of evaluation and seeing what happens through the programs that they use is to see what works, what doesn't, what they can improve, and what they can maybe not implement as much. And so the Code of Ethics basically says social workers should do the things that promote healthy and better evaluation to the clients. And kind of just comparing the two for a little bit, they both talked about how important evaluation was and how it can be used both as a tool to find out what is wrong and what is right with what is going on. And really, evaluation is the process and the steps in which people really learn what went wrong and how they can become better, and how what they are doing can help them in the future and what not to do in the future to repeat the issue. And just to end, I'd like to leave you all with a question, kind of a self-reflection, not entirely related to social work, but what ways has evaluating your progress and thinking about possible outcomes influenced your choices in life, and how have they helped you achieve your goals, your personal goals? Feel free to share any experiences that you have, or just answer the question. That's all I have, and I will see you all next week.